this is Brandy Siddiqui. I'm just going to try to walk through with you some of the how the simulation should in theory work out. So the first thing I want to say is that you need to have at least it'd be good if you had a student do it, but you can do it as well. Have someone run a table, and the table will be where all transactions happen. And so it's kind of like every time students buy or sell the cocoa, they're going to come to this table and get a new card. I'll explain more about that in a minute. So students, you can just divide them however you want into groups. It doesn't matter at all what side they're on. So there's buyer cards on one colored piece of paper, and then there's also seller cards on a different colored piece of paper. I made class sets of the simulation cards. So in the front of the classroom, there's a black hanging folder, and inside of it, there's three baggies. And so each baggie is for each class of economics. So first period, fourth period, or fifth period. Fifth period, there's not a lot of kids in it, so it'll seem kind of awkward. Sorry, but it's the best we can do. And what will happen is they'll get this sheet of paper, and it'll say handout on it. Once you've handed them either a buyer or a seller card, have them write buyer or seller on the top of it, and then what their goal is. So a buyer, their goal is to pay the lowest price you can. Typically, let's say their card says you have $20 you're able to pay for this unit, but you want to pay the lowest price you can. The lower the price you negotiate, the greater your gain. So the law of demand says that buyers will want to buy more at lower quantities. And so the idea is that students who are buyers, they're going to try to get the cheapest deal they can. And so they would write on their piece of paper buyer, buy for less than on card. My classes have a lot of English language learners and a lot of students who have special needs, and so it'd be great if they just had that reminder on their paper. And just in general, students get confused. So then on the card, first thing they should do is write on this right here, $20. Okay, what will happen is that they'll go and they'll talk to somebody who's got a different colored piece of paper than them. So buyers are one color, and then sellers are the other color. And so if you read here, it says sellers, this unit cost you, and let's just use the sake of $20 again, to produce. But you want to sell it for the highest price you can. The higher the price you negotiate, the greater your gain. So sellers, if I'm trying to sell a product, my goal isn't to have it break even and have my revenues just cover my costs. I want to have profit. I want to have extra. So my goal is to sell it for $24, $30, $40, $100, whatever it may be. Um, and so then what will happen is the buyer will come and talk to different sellers. They don't have to make a deal with the first person they talk to. They can walk around and find a new person to deal with. And so what will happen is the buyer will find this seller, let's say, and so they're both working from the same number, but it just depends on who's better at negotiating. So if this was the buyer's record piece, and then let's just say they ended up buying it for $18, okay, then because they're trying to buy it for less than what's on the card, they actually are at a negative. I mean, they're at a positive, sorry. They gain $2, okay, because they have two extra dollars in their pocket. That's a one way of thinking about it. And then let's say they went back, they traded the card, they went back to that transaction table I told you to have that I erased up here, okay, for the transaction. So they made that transaction, they get a new card, let's say, and this buyer gets a card that's for $24. Let's just use that as an example. And then they go and they meet this seller, and this seller has got a card for, and I don't know, let's say $30. Okay, and so the buyer is going to write $24 on their sheet of paper. So we're going to scroll down to, I mean, this would be a separate paper, it'd be on their handout. $24. Okay, they try to go and buy it this piece of cocoa from a different seller, but this seller is trying to get $30. So the seller actually convinces them to pay $30. Or let's say the seller is really good and they haggle back and forth, and the person who's trying to buy cocoa just takes a loss, and then they sell it for $32. Price negotiated was $32. Well, the seller did a great job, but the buyer did bad. So the buyer spent $8 over what their budget was, so they are negative 8. Okay? You want to have them do preferably about 5 rounds, and then call say round 1 is done. And so round 1 will be done, and just give them a minute to kind of figure out their math. Are they doing it right? Are they making the transactions right? Because a lot of kids will have that question. And so even you can show students this video or this part of the video if you want, and then they can kind of see. And you want to figure out what are your net gains and losses. So if you have negative 8 plus $2, then you're actually at a negative 6, right? I'm going to do the same thing now, but let's pretend I'm the seller. I'll use a completely different color. Okay, so if I'm the seller, right, and I'm up here and I've got, okay, I've got $20 as my goal. So I'm going to put this on my seller card. And so on the top of my seller paper, I would have written, I've written seller, sell for more than on card. More, just to kind of help remind us that's my goal. Okay, and then let's say I'm down here, and I'm just going to erase this. Okay, and so then the amount on the card, sorry, forgot already. The amount on the seller card is $20. Okay, $20, and then I'm going to go, and I met a buyer who's trying to buy for 20, and then let's say I negotiated the price of, I don't know, let's say 22. Okay, because I'm a seller, I'm trying to sell for more than my $20, so this means I have a plus 2. Okay, if I go to my next card, and my next card is 30, that's a big number. Okay, $30. $30 is on my card. Okay, and I negotiated a price, and let's say I go up here and I meet this person and this person selling for 24. If I go back down here and I took the loss and I got $24. Okay, because this number here is less than my number that I was trying to negotiate for, so 24 is less than 30, then that means I'm at a loss, and I'm a loss for $6. Okay, because I sold less than what I was trying to get. Okay, and then if you look at this, my net, if I was to stop right here, my net would be negative $4. And sometimes it's better just to take a loss so you can get a new card. So there's lots of cards. Some are high, some are low, right? So some of them are lower, some of them are higher. I'm not going to tell you what the range is, and so you'll be kind of surprised to learn what you can get from different people. But you should be trying to buy and sell as many as you can. So it would be great if you called round 1 after about 5 transactions or so, or after about like 5-6 minutes. And then just kind of make sure people are understanding the math and how it works. And then as far as your grade goes, I'm expecting you by the end of the simulation to get 15 transactions done. Okay, 15 transactions is your goal. And then you also have to fill out the bottom part here, which would be your net gain. And okay, did you end up gaining or losing? Okay, I also would like it if you responded to the question like, who had more control? So was it buyers or sellers? Okay, and then could people figure out what equilibrium was? So what was equilibrium? What was the equilibrium price? what was the equilibrium price? Okay, and so that is the first part, and that's the first handout. It should be a lot of fun. Most people enjoy it a lot. I'm really sorry I'm missing out on it because it's fun. Keep things to remember. Have a transaction table so that people can come and get new cards. Don't let students rifle through and find the card that they want because that's not fair. Just tell them life isn't fair. Just take a loss. It'll be fine. Um, and then also the other thing I would say is tell them they can't have them come up with the person that they bought or sold from. So if two people are buying and selling, they need to come up together to get new cards at the same time. That way you know that people are getting new cards at the same time and they're not just getting one out of one, or one person just isn't sitting down doing nothing. The other thing too is tell them they cannot use the same person in back-to-back transactions. So if you talk to student A, then your next transaction you have to talk to student C or D or E or F, right? You can't just keep talking to the same person over and over and over again, which is one of the things the kids will tend to do. But it should